What is going on, everybody? Welcome into my very first off-season video, and it's been a pretty quiet week. Obviously, 5 days since the Jaguars annihilated the Colts. Don't get to say annihilated very often, but Jaguars beat down the Colts, man. Knocked them out of the playoffs and left a really good taste in all of us Jaguar fans' mouths as, hey, man, rough season, but at least we got to see our young franchise quarterback go out there and make some cool moves and play a great game, as well as the rest of the defense, and just take down the Indianapolis Colts. So now, obviously, we have a head coaching search. And this head coaching search has been going on for a couple of weeks now. Obviously, the Jaguars got to start interviewing candidates early. So, we saw the list of names come out pretty early, and the Jaguars have been going around and doing their rounds. And along the way, there have been some betting odds that have been released. As of Wednesday, Bill O'Brien was actually the favorite to land the Jaguars job. Then number 2 was interim head coach Darrell Bevell, and then number 3 was Byron Leftwich. As of Thursday, yesterday, Bill O'Brien was number 1 still. Byron was number 2. Byron Leftwich moved up to number 2, and then Jim Caldwell was actually number 3. No, it was actually Doug Peterson that was number 3. Excuse me. And then as of Friday, Byron Leftwich jumped out to be the clear favorite to land the job. And a little bit of an update, now you can't even bet on this. You can't even bet right now that on who will be the Jaguars head coach. They have taken it away, I guess. And now you're kind of hearing from a bunch of different people, most notably on Twitter at @E_Dilla, who gets pretty much all the Jaguar scoops. He has sources inside the building. And he says that the Jaguars are pushing hard to get Byron Leftwich, that is their clear favorite, and that's pretty much who they want. So the Jaguars are going all in right now on former Jaguar quarterback, current offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Byron Leftwich, which is crazy. A little bit of interview updates. Yesterday, the Jaguars interviewed Bill O'Brien. Apparently, the meeting lasted from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and the Jaguars were on a plane by 6:30. The word is the interview did not go very well. The interview was actually pretty bad, and that kind of spiraled Bill O'Brien out of the coaching kind of favorite list for the Jaguars. So that's a positive sign. I don't know anybody that wanted Bill O'Brien, anybody in the Jags fan base that wanted him. The Jaguars flew out to Green Bay today to interview Nathaniel Hackett, and they have Matt Eberflus tomorrow, the Colts defensive coordinator. And that's going to wrap up the interviews. So now we go into this moment of what happens next. I mean, what happens next? Because this is a new period of the NFL. Never in the past have you been able to interview coaching candidates before their current job ended. And that's what's going on here with, obviously the Jaguars going to wrap up all their interviews. So I don't know if they're going to have a second interview or how it's going to be. But now we're kind of almost in waiting mode. So to go back on Byron Leftwich, I love this move. At first I was excited, a few weeks ago about the potential of Byron Leftwich, and I started looking into a little bit more, and I was almost like, I don't know if this would be the best for us because it might be a little bit risky. But as the weeks have gone on and as the days have gone on, I've felt a lot better about going after Byron Leftwich. First of all, when it comes to what kind of head coach we will bring in, we have to keep in mind Trevor Lawrence. Like, for the first time really in a long, long time, have we really felt comfortable that we have our guy. And it feels like that with Trevor Lawrence. But the Jaguars coaching staff did this man no favors this last year. They put together a terrible coaching staff. And Urban Meyer obviously flamed out. He was so bad, he couldn't even last a year. It was that bad. And everything around it was bad. The coaching was bad. There was a lot of just dysfunction. And, we could see it from our eyes to the TV screen watching them play that something was not right. So now you really had to go back and say, okay, how can we do right by Trevor Lawrence? And what better move than to bring in a quarterback, a former quarterback. First of all, a lot of parallels. Byron Leftwich was drafted in the first round by the Jaguars. The very first quarterback the Jaguars ever drafted in the first round. He served as a first round pick. He served as a starting quarterback, and he's also served as a backup quarterback for the Steelers and a few other teams. Most notably the Steelers. He got to be a part of that organization, a great organization, and he even was able to win a Super Bowl while being a backup quarterback over there. And later on, he was a quarterback's coach, for the Cardinals. Served as offensive coordinator for there a little bit. Now he's the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, coaching Tom Brady, and he also won a Super Bowl over there, under the tutelage of Bruce Arians. So this guy has been all around, really every single space you can be at as a quarterback. So he understands, what it takes as a quarterback to be able to succeed. And he's a guy that's pretty much been successful everywhere he went. It was tough his time in Jacksonville. It actually was pretty tough for him because what do you know? There was a little bit of dysfunction in our front office. I don't know if there's ever been a time where there hasn't been this dysfunction, man. But, at the time, Shaq Harris was the Jaguars GM in 2003. And, apparently Jack Del Rio wanted one guy and Shaq Harris wanted another guy. Then Shaq Harris was known to go kind of rogue on his picks. And, he brought in Byron Leftwich without really Jack Del Rio even knowing about it, and Jack Del Rio apparently never even really wanted him. So from the start, the time was rough for him in Jacksonville. And obviously it didn't work out great over here. There was a little bit of talk, and I was too young at the time to really know about it, but apparently there was a little bit of like a racial issue, back when he was quarterback for the Jaguars. It's hard to kind of do research on this type of thing, but that's kind of what I've heard. So you can kind of take that as it is. And so yeah, his time in Jacksonville wasn't great, but obviously he was so young when he got drafted here. It was 20 years? It was 2003, so it was 18 years ago. In 2 decades, we're all completely different people. And, I think maybe he would want to come back here and really do what's right and kind of finish his legacy over here. He didn't get any looks for head coach last year, unfortunately for him. Apparently he was wanting it, and even Bruce Arians was kind of pissed that he didn't get any looks, but it just didn't wind up happening. So Byron Leftwich has really a lot to do when he comes here. Fixing the Jaguars is going to be a tough job, but who knows how tough it's going to be. When Byron Leftwich comes in here, first of all, he has to be himself. He cannot come in here and be somebody that he's not, because I think if he is his true, genuine self, that's going to be the best way to handle it, because he honestly is known to be a pretty good guy. He's very much a player's coach. I mean, I saw a clip this week where, LaShawn McCoy on Fred Taylor's podcast, on Chad Ochocinco's podcast, I forget what it is now. I don't know if it was I Am Athlete or what it was, but, he said that when he was with the Bucs, in one of the meetings, Byron Leftwich said, hey guys, who's got some incentives? We'll work, because obviously we saw last week, Marvin Jones got an incentive, Dwan Smoot got a sack, so he got like $250,000, and even Rob Gronkowski had like a reception and got like $1 million off of it. Must be nice. But he addressed the team. He said, look, who's got incentives? I'm all about getting you guys your money, come in here and do it. So, that was interesting. That they went out there and, because I think that would, obviously he's a player's coach and players respect him. And that's really what we need over here is trust and respect, because, gosh, it's just been so much dysfunction. Also, when he comes in here, it'll be interesting to see what he does with the offense, because the offense that he runs in Tampa will not work great for us right now. It's a downfield passing attack, and it's not something that Trevor Lawrence can't necessarily do. We just can't really do it because we don't have the receiving core right now. We had to, and obviously, everybody who watches any ounce of Jaguars football knows the Jaguars need to build on their receiving core. So that's going on with the offense, but I do think that Byron Leftwich, he will be very, very adaptable to what the Jaguars have. I mean, you see for the Buccaneers, a lot of times people try to, including me, I try not to draft Buccaneer players in fantasy, and that's because sometimes guys do nothing. And it's because Byron Leftwich goes in there these different games and he figures out the mismatches. And when he figures them out, he goes after those guys. I mean, you see different games where Mike Evans goes off, Chris Godwin goes off, the different tight ends, maybe even, they pound the run again with Leonard Fournette. Like, he is very, very good at deciphering the opposing defense and figuring out the best way to take care of business. So that's definitely one big thing about Byron Leftwich. But the big thing about this is, what is going to happen to the GM if Byron Leftwich comes in here? I saw a tweet like a week or two ago, that apparently Byron Leftwich, if he becomes head coach, there is a GM that he has in mind. It's somebody over for the Arizona Cardinals in their organization. That's who he would have in mind. And it would just be interesting with Trent Baalke. It's like, okay, did this guy go in and facilitate all these interviews, and then all of a sudden he's out the door? I mean, it could very much be. And it sucks for him, but at the same time, he did this to himself, man. He's known as a snake. He's known to, cut people's throats behind their back. Sneaky guy type of thing. Throws people under the bus. And, even former coaches, for the 49ers said that, look, in a draft process, he never asked me what type of players I wanted. We never talked about that kind of stuff. He would just go and draft players and not have to deal with it. That is not how you handle this thing. And, he might be the point where, like, we interview 9 guys and maybe 2 guys would be willing to work with Baalke because they're so damn desperate for a job. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It'd be so glorious if Byron Leftwich gets head coach, then Baalke's out of here, man. Then the clown movement will be successful, I guess. Who knows? But this is exciting, man. It is really looking like Byron Leftwich is going to be the guy, and he's playing this weekend. He's playing the very first game on Sunday against the Eagles, and I'll be honest with you guys, I might be rooting for the Eagles to win that one. So news of Byron Leftwich may come out quicker. It may be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we figure out that, boom, Leftwich is going to be the coach. If not, if they do win, we'll have to wait, and we'll have to wait another week. And honestly, I highly doubt the Eagles are going to beat the Buccaneers, solely due to the fact that the Buccaneers have Tom Brady, and Tom Brady just doesn't lose in a wild card round. He has to wait until at least the NFC Championship to lose. I guess this is Tom Brady's rule, but we'll see. But it is exciting. It's going to be fun. Hopefully we get this guy. I think it would be a very, very big fish for us. And I know even the day after Urban Meyer was fired, he was pretty much on a top list of all these different coaching candidates. And if you guys are interested in seeing a more full video on Byron Leftwich, I did make one a few weeks ago, so you can go in there. And I actually had a Buccaneers YouTuber come on there and kind of break down his side of things. So I'm very excited. We'll kind of see how this whole coaching search goes. And thank you guys so much for joining. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed the video. And of course, look at all the links down below. Follow me everywhere at UCF_Jaguar. With all that said, I'm out. Go Byron, go Trevor, and fire Baalke.